welcome back everyone to another wonderful Faithful Friday. Okay, happy Faithful Friday with Jess. We are once again getting into another Bible study lesson today, but let's first get into our song and then we'll just get into the way that our message is going to go flow today and how it is actually like related to our other messages. But let's just get into what we're going to listen to. Let's go. Listen. So we're currently listening to Hero by Kirk Franklin, and we'll get into the lyrics so we can understand exactly what they're saying. All right. So Hero, it says, the heavens were silent, the earth wept in pain. Nations were trembling and hope never came. A terror filled the air and wouldn't go away. We needed a hero to come and save the day. The lyrics are actually talking about God, but of course we're going to be talking about somebody else. We're going to get into a lesson talking about these two women once again. If we have noticed the pattern these past few weeks, we've been talking about women, and today we're going to do the same thing. We're going to get into some lady duos, and we're coming from the book of Judges. So if you want to open up your Bibles, we're going to go from Judges 4 and 5. And we're talking about two women. One you probably have heard of. The other one I sure didn't hear of. But their names are Deborah and Jael. And it's a very interesting story, and we're just going to get into it. So give us a little backstory. Judges is the era where basically we're going through judges of a nation of Israel, the different people who are leaders, the different people who are over the people and telling them what to do. So there's a period like the Israelites are God's chosen people, and there's a period where he's led them out of Egypt, and now they're in this new land, and they are still complaining, they're chaotic, they're not actually following God. So he allows them to have judges, and once they're under the hand of authority, they actually finally know what to do because they have someone guiding them. Now, Deborah is actually, of course, obviously a woman, and she is the first and only woman judge in Israel. So I think, girl power there. But the judge that was before her was Ehud. So he reigned for 80 years with peace. But as soon as he died, the Israelites don't know what to do again. They don't even know who is going to, give them direction. So they're going crazy, not worshiping God. They're worshiping other idols, and they're, sinning and doing all these crazy things. But they understand that they need God because during this time, after the death of Ehud, and during the reign of Deborah, who is with them for 20 years so far, they're like, oh my God, we need some help and we need you to come and help us. And, so he's like, all right, I'll help you guys out because you are finally answering the call that I have for you into being righteous people, right? So at this time, King Jabin, who is actually the leader of the Canaanites, is oppressing the Israelites, and he is using his leader Sisera, which is the leader of the army, to also help and control them. And during this time of 20 years, Deborah is counseling. She's actually a prophetess, so she is in relationship with God, and she's getting communication with him, and she is able to talk to the other people and telling them exactly what God is telling them to do and what not to do. So she's able to guide them and give them counsel, and she has wisdom, but it's not just with herself, but it's also through God. So she also has a leader of their own army, the Israelites army, and his name is Barak. And we're going to just start to read on how they're actually going to overturn the Canaanites and get their land back and gain their peace back. So from Judges 4, 6 through 9, it says, she went to Barak, she meaning Deborah, son of Amnoah from Kadesh in Naphtali, and said to him, the Lord, the God of Israel, commands you, go take with you 10,000 of the Naphtali and Nubilim and lead them up to Mount Tabor. So Mount Tabor is the location where they're going to fight. And she says to him, The Lord has already commanded you to go and take these men to go fight. And he has walked up to her basically saying like he needs help and he wants some guidance on what to do. And she's like, you've already gotten the command from God, so go ahead and do it. But his response is saying, he says, I will lead Sisera, the commander of Jabin's army, with his chariots and his troops to Kishon River and give him into your hands. Barak's response says, if you go with me, I will go. But if you don't go with me, I will not go. And I feel like it's interesting that he says this. Like, of course, we understand he's actually afraid because they're under the control of the Canaanites for 20 years. Obviously, they're not winning any battles because they wouldn't be so oppressed for so long. So it makes sense that he is fearful. However, being the leader of the army, you would want and you would kind of think that your leader is having some confidence that you're going to conquer, or at least that you have enough strength to win, or he has enough strength in his army to fight the battle that God has already called them to fight. And if God has already called you to do something, he has equipped you with everything that you need to allow yourself to win. But, you know, let's see what she says. So she says, certainly I will go with you, said Deborah, but because of the course you are taking, the honor will not be yours. Basically, she's saying the course that you are taking, because you are not going when God says to go, because you are needing my help and you're not going to do this alone as God has already called you, there's going to be some changes in this plan. And she says, because of the course you are taking, the honor will not be yours, for the Lord will deliver Sisera into the hands of a woman. So Deborah went to Barak to Kadesh. Sisera, once again, is the leader of the army, and they are equipped with 900 chariots full of iron. So off the bat, they are very strong. But the head of Sisera is going to be delivered by a woman. This man who was frightened in going into battle and going to go against Sisera, who obviously was strong enough to oppress the Israelites for 20 years, is now not going to get the victory in his honor, in his name. It's going to be given to someone else. And so they go through the battle, and it's interesting. And there's like, God has basically allowed the Israelites to win by placing confusion over the Canaanites. So the Canaanites are not even able to fight. They're falling off their chariots. You know, their arrows are probably hitting basically nothing, and they're missing. So the Israelites pull out their sword and they kill every single one of the Canaanites, not missing a single man, except, of course, Sisera, who notices that his army is all of a sudden losing, and he gets frightened, he gets scared, he runs away on foot. He's like, I am leaving y'all, every man for himself. I may be y'all leader, but y'all is losing right now, and I'm not with y'all no more. So we get into where he runs off to. And of course, he runs off to our new person named Jael. So Judges 4:21 through 22, it says, but Jael, Heber's wife, picked up a tent. Let's not get there yet. So Jael is actually a wife of a friend of Jabin. So Jabin is the king of the Canaanites. Now, being that Jael is the wife of Heber is a friend of Jabin, you would think that, you know, they have no issues between each other as far as the Canaanites, and you would think they're allies of each other's and enemies of the Israelites. However, there is a point in this story where Jael sees Sisera running to her, and she's like, oh yeah, come into my tent and I'll keep you safe. And he goes, you know, if anyone's looking for me, don't let them know that I'm here. And she's like, no problem. He's like, I'm very thirsty. Can you give me something to drink? Can you give me some water? And she's like, yeah, sure, but I'm going to give you something better. And she gives him a warm cup of milk, and she covers him with a blanket, and she realizes he's tired, and he actually falls asleep thinking that he's safe, thinking that she is absolutely no threat to him and that she is going to take good care of him. and he'll be on his way whenever, he wakes up, whenever the war is over, and Barak is no longer looking for him. But no. Judges 4:21-22. This is where it gets extremely interesting. But Jael, Heber's wife, picked up a tent peg and a hammer and went quietly to him while he lay fast asleep, exhausted. She drove the peg through his temple into the ground, and he died. This woman killed this man. So just then Barak came by in pursuit of Sisera, and Jael went out to meet him. She's like, "Come on, I will show you the man you are looking for." So he went in with her, and there lay Sisera with the tent peg through his temple, dead. End of story. So this woman took it upon herself to utilize the tools around her to kill this man who was obviously not a righteous man, who was obviously an enemy to God's people, and was not someone who was going to be good. And even though she was a wife of a friend of the Canaanites, who were the enemies of the Israelites, she took it upon herself to do exactly what was right. And because of this, Barak, as well as Deborah, they sang a song, they praised, they were excited. The war was over. The Israelites overturned the Canaanites, and the success was given over to this woman, just the same as God has promised, just the same as this prophetess has stated, which was Deborah. She prophesied that the victory will be placed in the hands of a woman, and it was. And because of this, in Jonah 5:24, it states, "Most blessed of women, but be Jael, the wife of Heber the Kenite, most blessed of tent-dwelling women." Because of the works of this woman, Jael, she was called most blessed, which is very high esteem. I read somewhere that there is only 2 women in the whole book of the whole Bible that has such a great honor. And one of them was, of course, the mother of Jesus, which was Mary, and she is the second. So I feel like even though her role is small, even though a lot of people may have not heard of her, she has a huge impact, and she is very important. So what other lessons have we learned from this story? Very quick and very easy, but very interesting. It says, what I've gathered says, do what God says, exactly how he says, because he's already equipped you to doing whatever it is. And if you don't do what God has called you to do, someone else is going to get the glory. Someone else is going to do exactly what God wants. And that's the lesson that I have seen from Barak. Deborah already told him, God has already spoken this into you. God has called you to be a leader. So lead. Do exactly what he wants you to do, because he's given you everything that you need to do it. So do it. But because of his fear, because of the doubts that he was going to overturn the people, because he didn't want to go alone, it's not a problem that you don't want to go alone, but it's an issue that you are using someone else to help you do it when God has called you to do it alone. And because of that, the victory was handed over to a woman. God was the one who led the army into the Israelites into victory over the Canaanites by causing Canaanites to have confusion and not be able to fight. Barak didn't do that. A woman, Jael, is the one who allowed the death to come upon the leader of the Canaanites. And Barak didn't do that. Second point, use wisdom to lead. And you can only gain wisdom by asking God for wisdom. And that's what I have from Deborah. She used wisdom in order to lead her people. She's not the one that physically fought in the battle, but God gave her the ability to prophesy and saying everything that was going to happen, to use the correct leaders and put them in a position to overturn, even the ones that she did not know, who was Jael. The next thing, do what's right, even if it seems wrong, and do it in the moment. Use exactly what you have to fulfill whatever the mission is or the will of God that he has for you. And that's exactly what Jael did. I am not saying that you should go around killing people, but I am saying that that's just what happened in the story. And she did what's right, even though she was in a position being the wife of someone who was on the side of the Canaanites, who was a friend of the Canaanites. She took it upon herself to do what was just to an unjust man, and she killed him and saved the Israelites from further oppression. Also, God will use anything and anyone to get the job done. A peg and a hammer by a woman that we don't even know to save a whole nation. And because of this, they continue to be not oppressed for a continual, I believe it was 80 years. No, that's about 40 or 80 years. But also, use what you have. Be unconventional. God will use anything and anyone to get the job done. And also, call to God and he will rescue you by any means necessary. The Israelites were in this oppression for 20 years, but as soon as they called to God, he said, okay, I will give you your deliverance. And he allowed the leaders to be put in place for that to happen. And he allowed this woman, Jael, to be used as a vessel in order for this to also take place, for the Israelites to win. And God will use anyone, whether it be a woman, whether it be a man, whether it be a child, whether it be an older person, whether it be a prophetess, or whether it be just, any old person on the street who is not of the temple or of the church. Allow yourself to be used no matter who you are. Allow yourself to use exactly what you have, because exactly what you have is what God has given you. You don't need anything extra. You don't need anyone extra. All you need is the strength of God and being wise into making this decision for yourself to do what is right, even if it seems wrong and is unconventional to the world. If God has told you to do it, allow that to be what you do, and allow that to be the only thing that motivates you. God has told you to do it. God has equipped you to do it. Therefore, it should be done. That is what we have for today, our lesson on Deborah and Jael and Barak and overcoming the Canaanites. So overcome your trials and overcome your tribulations. No matter how long you've been oppressed, know that the victory is on its way. All right, that is all we have for our Faithful Friday today. Go ahead and leave a comment if you've learned anything. Go ahead and leave a comment if you've known anything new that I didn't bring up to you, or if there is anything that you just want to say. Go ahead and let me know. Also, just share it, like it, let someone else learn about Jael and Deborah and Judges 4 and 5. Read it for yourself and get some understanding for yourself. Also know that whatever I say may be misinterpreted, or it just may be different from what you get from it. So go ahead and have a wonderful day. Enjoy your evening, and I will see you again next week with another heroic story of two women, and show that, women can do it too, and women are definitely used in the Bible for greatness. So have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next week. Bye.